Shoot! Hi, I'm the Moorlander and this is Moorlander EDC. Completely different location today. We are still in the Moorlands, but this is one of the many nuclear fallout bunkers that were built during the late 70s due to the Cold War crisis kind of thing that was going on. Not to go into it too much, you know, it was very difficult for the people of the Kingdom of the Moorlands. You know, they were some dark times, but if you like, stay tuned to the end of this content and I'll give you a little bit more information and history around the Cold War that we experienced at the time. But today, so moving on, we are here today to look at the knife and tool sharpener, and this is the Mark II version from Workshop. Full disclosure at this point, I got in contact with Workshop. I noticed that there was a version 2 of this that had come out and asked if they would be kind enough to send me one. This is the version that they sent to me. This is a production version. This was sent to me free of charge, but you know, from the discussions that I've had with them, it has no sway on the outcome of my findings in this video. I generally tend not to give an opinion. However, you know, when good products are good products, it's very difficult not to give an opinion. So, you know, you'll see at the end of this whether I like it or not, but here's a pretty damn fine piece of equipment, if you'll excuse my French. Now, I thought the best way to start this really would be to try and find some knives to sharpen. This is a piece of kit that is, I suppose you've got your novice sharpeners, you've got your super, you know, I can sharpen something off the back of a squirrel. I don't know where that went. But anyway, this is, from my understanding, more of that kind of intermediate kind of section. You know, you want to be able to sharpen some knives, and there's two specific types of knives that are perfect for this. You have a kitchen knife, which, you know, I've found a few second-hand kitchen knives that we'll try and sharpen today to see how well they work, which uses a 20-degree cutting edge angle. And then you have your more utility style knives, so your EDC style knives, those sort of things. I call this a sacrificial knife, and that's not because I'm going to sacrifice it to this, but mainly because if you're getting into knife sharpening, from what I understand, I'm still quite a novice to this. It's always best to start with something that it's okay to get a few things wrong. Now, hopefully, this is going to make it very easy for me to be able to sharpen this. But if you are getting into knife sharpening, you look at any of the knife sharpening videos, you will know one of the first things that they will tell you to do is use a knife that you're okay to learn how to sharpen with. So this is a Gerber. I don't even know what it is. I bought this knife probably about 15 years ago. It was one of the first knives that I bought. It is a frame lock. It's a nice little knife, but you know, I'll try and sharpen that today. So I'll turn the camera around so that we can have a little bit about more of what is in here while I'm doing that. If you like this video, please feel free to hit like at any point during this. If you're new to the channel, that would be awesome. And if you'd like to subscribe, that would be great as well. Yeah, so let's have a look at this. So we have the box itself. As far as presentation is concerned, it looks the deal. It is a great presented box. On the sides, it gives you some information on how you can use this. On the back, it gives you more information on the different types of knives and tools that you can sharpen with this. And again, on the side, just gives you a little bit of information around the flexibility of the bands that come with this, and also the different types of bands, which we'll have a look on the inside. When it comes to opening the contents of it, I'll open this up. I also like the fact that it says thank you for your purchase. I think that's great that for a company to just thank people for buying their products. I think that's great. One thing that I've found with talking to Workshop about reviewing this, they're just really nice people, really nice people. So First thing that you can see hopefully here is the sharpener. I'll take this out and just put that to one side for now. When it comes with a band already pre-installed on the sharpener, but what you also get is 6 bands. So there are 5 here and there is the extra one there. You have a more coarse bands, you have I suppose an intermediate band, and then you have a honing band, which on this side you can see that you've got for grinding, for sharpening, and then for honing. It's either a P80, a P220 or a 6000 grit. And then on the inside, if I just take, okay, I'm struggling with that. If I take these out, I think I just nutted that as well. Let's move to the side. You have a very useful, easy, this is how it operates. Place it in there, pull it through, stop when it's in, depending on the type of knife that you've got. Quick, easy, whether it's a pocket knife or whether it's a kitchen knife. You've got 2 settings. Now this is where I mentioned about that more of an intermediate kind of stage for this. If you've got a particular knife where it says, the cutting edge is 23.5 degrees, with this you have one of 2 options. There is 25 degrees for a more pocket hunter utility style knife, or you have 20 degrees for a kitchen style knife, and then it gives you some more information on whether or not it is completely dull or whether it just needs to be sharpened a little bit so that you can get more out of it. And again, same here for your kitchen style knives. On the back, again, gives you some more different information about different types of speeds. This is actually really useful because it's just there, it's nice and quick. If you've got this on the side, always keep that with you, and then you've got it. Whereas if you want to find out more detailed information, then you've got this instruction guide here. So this is more of a detailed look into what you can sharpen, and I think as far as giving you the confidence to think, well, I've got this type of knife, is there any way that I can sharpen this? You can go through this. It gives you some information about what the different parts of the knife is, the heel, the edge, the spine, the belly, that sort of stuff. It gives you some information about some of the features. So this it has 2 speeds. It always recommends that you use speed 1 for sharpening all knives. There is a second speed which makes it go a little bit faster, which really is designed more for your tools. It goes on to techniques, how to change the angles, and then eventually, and this is how you can change the bands and that sort of stuff. Eventually it will then take you on to how to sharpen different types of knives. Oops, did I go past one? No, I didn't. So serrated knives, I won't go through all of these, but if you need to sharpen a gut hook, if you've just got a single bevel, there are lots of different ones that you can go in through there, and then eventually you'll get through to the, I think it's in German and also in French, maybe? There might be quite a few different languages in here. But anyway, so it takes you through lots of different styles of knives, but then also it will then give you more information because this is for sharpening knives and tools. So if you wanted to sharpen an axe, if you want to sharpen some scissors, even other grinding tools like secateurs, or if you've got a mower blade, it will show you how to sharpen those as well. Now when the knife and tool sharpener arrives, by default it comes in this closed setting configuration, I don't know what you call it, but this is the closed. So if you wanted to put this away, it's a lot easier to be able to put away like this. On the side here is a small clip that when you depress this allows you to turn it around. Actually, saying that, when it's closed, you don't need to be able to do that. It just opens. But hopefully you'll hear when I get to that point that there is an audible click, and you can see, although you might not be able to see it here, there is a detent there and then also a detent on the front. This version, or the way that this is set up here, is the version for your knives. So you hold it, you have the trigger underneath here, hopefully you can see there, it's very much like a pistol grip. You hold on to that and then you can then sharpen your knives. If you have a tool, so we just saw that we mentioned a mower blade or an axe, then what you can also do is you can turn that round so that it goes through to there. So you hold it at that, and then this is a 45-degree angle so that you can use that to then grind things. To be able to do that, these are the guides here. So when it is in knife sharpening mode, you use this here as your guide. Let me see if I can see that better. Here is your guide, and then you have a plate here that it sits on so that you know you're always dragging along the same vector. Yeah, vector's a good word. Whereas when you're grinding a tool, the grind plate or this grind rest folds down, and these here actually come off. So there are, you can take it off here at the back. It just lifts straight up, so that when that turns round, these aren't there and impede the way in which you can grind. So at the moment, let's just put that down. Here are the knives that I mentioned. This is a Sharpener. Anyone see that? Sharpener. It is dull. I mean, absolutely dull. There is no sharpness to that whatsoever. Also have, so that's more of your carving, meat carving style knife. There's also a knife here that I picked up that is more of a you know, small vegetable style knife. This is, it looks like, do you know what, it actually looks like it says Anthony Boyle Tompkinson, who was a celebrity chef kind of around the late 90s, early noughties. So I can completely imagine that he would have his own line of knives. So that's another one that we will try. And then there is also, as I mentioned, there is this one, which is just a pocket-friendly Gerber knife. So this one in particular, I think what we will need to do is we will need to go through all of the different grits for this, purely because it is just so dull. So to be able to change the different grits, what you have is, so the purple is the honing one, the green, and then obviously you can feel them. The green is the 80 grit. I think it said it was 80. It does say 80. And then the red is the, in fact it says it in there, 220. So to be able to take these off, it's actually quite easy. So this pin here with the roller on the end, this isn't plugged in, by the way, so it's not going to do anything. To be able to change these, you push that in, turn it round about 45 degrees, and you'll see that it locks into place. And these just come out. So the engine, or the motor at least, is here on the front, which drives this back wheel. There's also another wheel here and another wheel at the top. So if I were to put this one in, whilst trying to do this around the camera, they just slot into the front there. It comes up to the top and within those guides, and then you push it down, and then there you can see, oh actually I think I just needed to push that in down a little bit further. There you go. There is a pin on the back. Depending on if you watch a lot of knife sharpening videos, you'll know that a lot of the knife sharpeners that they use, especially those large sanding belts, there's always a pin so that you can make sure it stays in the middle. So there is a pin on the back just in case you find that it's not tracking properly. But you know, I've tried this a few times already, and it seems to be tracking perfectly. So I've already moved that down. Hopefully you might be able to see here that it says grind. So if it was that you were doing an axe, maybe you needed to resharpen an axe, you'd make sure that was down, you'd take that off, and then you'd be able to go. And you would also have that on speed 2. This is a knife, so I'm going to move that down onto speed 1, put it into the knife sharpening configuration, and also lift up that sharpener rest. So what happens with this is, these two sides, if I place that down, the knife will actually rest upon that sharpener bit, and then the sides of the knife will fit in with these grooves here. There's a nice little bit of felt on here actually, so as you pull it through, it's a very smooth and easy movement. And again, that just adds to the fact that you can build quite a lot of confidence with this, because to be able to pull it through, it doesn't feel as though it's jittery as you're pulling it through. I don't feel as though I'm going to end up with bits that I've maybe sharpened more than other bits, because the actual pull through is more of a fluid movement, which is good. Okay, now I've double checked this, and I'm going to go with their recommendations. And under kitchen knife, I mean, I'm taking that butchered means that is absolutely foobarred, which this pretty much is. The grind on it is still reasonably flat. There are no dinks on there. It's just dull as dishwater. So I'm going to go with this. I'll take this off and we'll do it with the 220. So we'll take that out, spin it, pull that round, put the red one on, which is the 220. Push that through, in, over the top, make sure they're in. And then there we go. So what it is saying is, for butchered, do 10 strokes, and it also says to you, so 10 strokes actually means 5 per side with the medium belt, and then do another 10 strokes on fine. So let's get this plugged in. Check that it's working. Yeah, definitely. It's tracking perfectly in the center, and I've just double checked. So if you want it up, which is a good thing that I checked. So on the back here, if we can see this, so if you have this up, then that locks that into a kitchen knife, which is 20 degrees. If you push it down, hopefully here you'll see that they spring open. So you've got open like that. That's 25 degrees. So we're actually going to do this on 20 degrees because this is a kitchen knife. So let's try this. So 5 on each side, and what I'm doing is I'm holding it down against this rest and then against the side as well and pulling it through. It says on a 4-inch knife that you should pull it through, and it's roughly 2 seconds to pull through a 4-inch knife. I'm saying that this is a 9-inch knife, so that will be roughly twice that. Okay, so what I'm testing for is burrs. When you test for a knife, as far as sharpening is concerned, you get a burr on each side depending on whether or not the metal's folded. With this, because you're doing it equally on both sides, you don't get a burr, and I can feel that already that is a lot sharper. Because it was so dull before, I'm actually going to give it another 5 strokes on each side. I think I did one too many there. Okay, straight away I can feel that is definitely sharper. There are no burrs because I've done it on both sides. A burr, if you go one way and then on the other, or you do it like that, then you'll feel the burr, and there's definitely not one on here. So now let's change up the belt on there. I'm just going to unplug that. So to undo it, you push that in, turn it around, and put on the honing one. Now these honing ones, when you see, you'll be able to feel just how light these are, and these are particularly good for that bit where it mentioned for things like gut hooks. There is some flex to these so that you can get into corners. Okay, so that's on, and it's recentered itself. So on this one, again, it says that I need to do 10 on each side. Now I think that was due to me because I was pulling at it at the wrong angle, so let me just pop that back in. The reason that I think that that was my error and not this error is as I was dragging it through, could you hear that there was a bit of a, like a wobble, or a, what's the word, a harmonics. So the harmonics made me feel as though that was out, and that was my error. So I think I was on, what was I on? I was on 2 drags, so let's go, start back. Sorry, just knocked that again. There is so now we have the Celebrity Chef knife. This again is not, you know, it is a little bit sharper. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this as though it is the somewhat dull. So we'll do it for 2 to 4 strokes and then 10 strokes on the fine. So hopefully if this is a better angle you can see from above that this is just pulling that knife through using the guide here and the side, keeping the sides of the knife against that. Oh, let's turn this on. There we go. Right, okay. That has made a massive difference, an absolute massive difference. You can hear, so you can hear that that knife is wanting, it's wanting to cut. It's not hair, but it's there. It's so close, and that was just after 4 strokes on each side. So let's change it around. On. Let's turn this on. There we go. Make sure it's aligned. Yep. And then on this one, we're now going to do 5 on each side. Okay. Again, I hope the camera can pick this up, but now there is an absolutely brilliant, clean edge across there. If you get this just in the light, you can see where it's put a new cutting edge onto that, and it is it's bright as a button, really is. As far as, wow, okay, wow. Again, it's not hair cutting, but just a few on the 220, and then 5 each side on the honing. That is sharp. That is really sharp. What I'm going to do is actually going to do another 5 passes on each side, just to see how much of a difference that makes. Now you can, again, you can, that ringing is where it's trying to bite, because that is very sharp. As I've been pulling it through, I've also made sure that when I get to the edge, to the tip, that I'm not pulling the tip too far past it, just to make sure that I can still keep that tip nice and sharp. And that's really, I mean, I'm impressed. I have tried this on a few other knives beforehand to make sure that, you know, I'm doing a reasonably good job. Not like the infamous video that I made on another guided knife where I put them at the guides in the wrong way around. So here we have the Gerber. This is a really old beta knife. I don't want to do this on 20 degrees because this is a utility EDC pocket style knife. To be able to change it is super simple. You just push down on the back. Hopefully you'll see there that the guides opened. Might be a better angle for you to be able to see that. That's now opened it, which will then change the geometry from 20 degrees to 25 degrees. Let's put this belt in. No, it's not that belt. Let's put the 220 back in so that we can do this. This as well, by the way, I mean, this really is dull. I mean, yeah, there's nothing there whatsoever. Okay, so let's get this changed. Let's recentered it, so that's perfect. So again, we're going to do this as a pocket knife, and I'm going to say that this is destroyed, so we're going to go for what it recommends for the most, 5 on each side or 10 strokes. Okay. Now I can see already, so before, hopefully you might have noticed that there's a little bit of rust on there. You can see it's took off the rust, and you can now see new fresh steel underneath there. When that's caught in the light, you should be able to see where it's took steel off. Again, just running it against my finger, I can feel that it is wanting to bite, so that is definitely got a new sharper edge on there. Let's change the bands round. Let's just turn it off. There we go. Again, that's done loads, absolutely loads of difference. Really has. You can now feel that it's wanting to bite as it moves over your finger. Now what I'm going to do, similar to what I did with this, is I'm just going to do a few more strokes through this honing belt, just to see how close and how fine I can get that before we start to look at how well it cuts paper. Yeah, that is sharp, that is nice and sharp. I'm just trying to see if there's any nicks in it, because this has been used quite heavily. No, I don't think there is. Okay, let's turn the camera on. Now I know what you're all after, the paper cut. The internationally standard, if it cuts paper, it'll cut anything test. Okay, I've literally just come from there. All I've done is turn the camera around. I haven't done anything extra to these knives. This was the Schicken knife. Do you know what? Schicken's probably German for kitchen after all this. This was duller than dull. It's got a new edge on it. I can see the new edge. I don't know whether it'll cut paper, but let's try it. Okay, no, it's not. That's no fault of the sharpener. This was probably a bad knife to test it on, although I guess it's a good knife to test it on, because I guess it shows that if you have something like this, you probably just need to put a little bit more work into that. But again, I really don't feel that is through any fault of the sharpener itself. This might as well just have been a lump of steel. So then we have the smaller Anthony, what's his name? Anthony Worrell Thompson, something like that. This started off as not particularly sharp, definitely not as dull as the other one, but let's check. So, yeah, absolutely no. Oh, so I think there might be a hang up somewhere. But again, that's not through any fault of the sharpener. That might be something that was already on the knife beforehand that is just small enough that I can't feel it with my finger, but is enough to stop it from gliding through the paper. But I think as far as being able to glide through the paper is concerned, you know, no issues whatsoever. It's a great sharpener. Let's try the Gerber, whatever. Again, I just can't think what this knife is called. But this was probably in between these two. It definitely wasn't as sharp as this to start off with. Having been a real kind of beta knife. We did the 4 pass-throughs as it said, then 5 on each side, and I went through it again, an extra 5 sides, just to see if I could add the extra hone to it. And so there's definitely a hang up somewhere on here. That's the knife's fault and not the sharpener's fault. But as far as being able to pass through it, oh, okay, maybe that's the bad side. Let's start with a new piece of paper. There is a hang up. Oh, there we go. It's sharp, and it is a hell of a lot sharper than it was. So as far as my thoughts on the sharpener is concerned, let me grab the sharpener. You know, I followed the instructions. 2 of the knives that were what it described as just needs to a bit of a sharpen, a bit of a pep, a bit of a pickup. It's sharpened both of these, and they will both cut paper really well. There were a couple of nicks on each of them, which again, you know, you'd need to do a little bit more of a reprofiling to get those nicks out of there, but they are still both very sharp knives. There was this beast. This is just a crap knife, plain and simple. I don't think the fact that it doesn't cut paper has anything to do with this. I think this is a great tool, and I think with some more practice on how to use these and how to use the different grits, I think I'll definitely get better at that. So would I recommend this? You know, do I give this the Moorlander seal of approval? Although we don't necessarily have a Moorlander seal of approval, maybe we should. Then yeah, I think this is great. There were a few extra things, or at least one extra thing that I didn't show you on here, and that is here, down on this bit. If I bring that closer. So here are the guides, here and here are the guides for the knife, but there's an extra notch here. So if you want to sharpen some scissors, let's pretend this huge hunk of rubbish are some scissors, then you can put the scissors into there and then follow that guide, and it will also sharpen scissors for you as well. The only main thing that we didn't have a look at today was sharpening a tool as such, and that's mainly because I don't have any tools to sharpen really, but there are some other great reviews out there, so I definitely recommend checking on those so you can check their opinion, not just mine. You should definitely try and check at least more than one opinion before you think of investing in a piece of equipment. However, this is brilliant, and this is definitely going to get used a lot. I'm going to invest in some more bands so that I can really look at what I can get out of this. But for initial tests like this is a great piece of equipment. A huge thank you to Workshop for sending this out to me. I mean, I said this before, but as far as talking to companies and, you know, just pleasantries when you're talking to them and asking about free stuff to send out to them, these guys were absolutely amazing. Stand up USA Americans that just are damn fine people, if you'll excuse my French. So thank you, a massive thank you to Workshop for sending this my way. I'll leave some links in the description below so that you can see more from Workshop and the different sharpening solutions that they have. I'll also leave some links in the description below so that you can see some more from me if you want to follow me on social media. Don't forget, you know, at this point there's always don't forget to like, subscribe and share. I don't know where that came from, but you know, don't forget to like, subscribe and share. And for now, stay safe, stay Moorlander, and stay EDC. Oh, or did you want to know a little bit more about the Cold War crisis? So that actually happened in the late 70s, whilst the US and Russia were going through, you know, their Cold War. The Kingdom of the Moorlands went through a similar Cold War with Portugal. Would you believe it? I mean, it was only for 10 days. It didn't particularly last long. And it was over, you know, squabbles around the price of apples that we were importing from there. There was a lot of bad tension at the time. There was a lot of name calling, if I should say that, but you know, the Kingdom and the Moorlands got a little bit worried. We invested billions into nuclear fallout shelters. We improved our nuclear missiles just to make sure that we could protect the Kingdom of the Moorlands. I know my father at the time invested heavily into making sure that we could protect ourselves. Turns out it was just, you know, it was just a fax that got sent, and you know, there was a decimal place in the wrong place. The Kingdom of the Moorlands now and the people of Portugal are absolutely amazing friends. Again, you know, it's just one of those little blips, that happens. And you know, we're all good now. The Cold War's over, but we still have a couple of £1 billion worth of fallout shelters all through the Moorlands. But it's great to be able to use these things like this. So there you go, a little bit more than you wanted to know. Cold Wars, who'd have them?